You can think about purpose in multiple senses, and we probably need to make it clear when we're talking about one versus another. So I think it's very appropriate to talk about purpose with a capital P, big purpose. And certainly the entire natural world fits into that. God has purposes for the universe. One of those important purposes is that it generates creatures like us who can develop a relationship with Him. And Christian faith says God has gone to incredible lengths to make it possible for creatures like us to relate to Him. So it's clear in that sense that the world is here in certain senses so that we might exist, and that's a big purpose for the world. So the processes by which we arose certainly reflect that larger purpose which transcends the universe itself. So that's a great way to think about purpose as it relates to biology. Now, I think the question also had something to do with whether we can talk about purpose in more kind of mechanistic ways as it has to do with biology. Scientists talk about purpose in some senses in that way as well, in the sense that certain processes have to happen in order that a structure in an organism or an organism's function in an ecosystem occurs. And those don't really presuppose someone behind the scenes tweaking things in a biological process in any particular way from the outside. What biologists mean by that is that the mechanisms within the biological process are leading to some event, and those are required for the final outcome that typically results from some sort of biological process. So often that's what biologists are meaning when they use purpose language. They're not meaning there's someone behind the curtain pulling strings rather like a puppet. That's not what they mean. I think biologists and Christians who are biologists in general want to say that creation is robust on its own, that built into the creation are the internal processes which give rise to really complicated organisms, that the universe is sufficient to, on its own, to generate the rich complexity that we see. I think otherwise you feel a bit like, I don't know if this is true in the UK, but certainly in the US, breakfast cereals often have little toys in them for children. And these toys include these little cars that you can ratchet back and to load the spring, and then you let them go, right? And the car goes in a straight line. That's all it can do. It has no steering mechanism. To get it to go in a different way, you kind of have to kick it with your foot. You have to move it. And I think that's not how the world works. God has imbued it with this rich, complex capability. And that's what scientists are discovering. And those lead to outcomes in terms of how organisms develop and how they function. And that's really what biologists are talking about most of the time when they talk about purpose. Now, stepping back from that, I do want to say that the operations of the universe do fit into this larger plan that God has for all of reality.